this is the grave of the unknown child, everybody. Now, the other thing the White Star Line arranged when they arrived here, apart from the cemetery plots, was for the victims to be collected. And they hired our cable ships to go and do that work. One of them was called the Mackie Bennett. Now, if you look around, you see all these low headstones. The White Star Line paid for those, for all the victims. But of course, you see some other markers in here that are much more opulent. Families of those victims had to fork out for that. But all the low headstones, the White Star Line did pay for. They also paid for the date of death to be inscribed, April 15th, 1912. And you'll notice each headstone has a number. The number only means the order in which the bodies were taken from the sea. So look over here, Mr. Price, number 186. It just means his was the 186th body recovered from the sea. The men of the Mackie Bennett were out there doing this task. Now, it wasn't their regular crew. Some guys did not want to do this work because they knew what they would be facing. They were paid, even though it was some of the regular crew and some volunteers that signed on, but they were paid around $10,000, which was a lot of money in 1912. A lot. In today's money, over $200,000. The men of the Mackie Bennett also helped back at the morgues, identifying and inventorying the bodies. Day after day, one body was left behind at the morgue when all the other bodies were being identified and taken from the family members. And that kind of touched their hearts because it was the body of a little boy. The men of the Mackie Bennett were dads. Some of them were grandfathers, and to know a little boy died alone on the cold Atlantic Ocean, that didn't quite sit well with them. They wanted to do something better. So they had this built, and inscribed on the front, it says, erected to the memory of an unknown child whose remains were recovered in the aftermath of the Titanic disaster, April 15th, 1912. But now, we fast forward to the 90s when DNA testing has come along. Now, it took a long time to get that science perfected, but after several attempts, because they had to do a lot of DNA comparisons, which, by the way, were taken from survivors. There were a few people that were on the Titanic still alive in the 1990s. They submitted DNA samples. Relatives submitted DNA samples. Things that the men of the Mackie Bennett collected, bone fragments and teeth, DNA samples could be extracted from. And then someone remembered the story of the baby shoes. Now, a lot of things that were collected ended up being burned. But one investigator, for some reason, decided to hold on to a pair of baby shoes. They were locked away and forgotten about. When someone realized we still have those, this person said, after all this time, is it possible to get DNA out of these? The answer was yes. And in 2007, that's when they discovered who this little boy was. His name is Sidney Leslie Goodwin. Now, would you like to meet him? Here he is. Now, I'll let you pass that around. That is actually Sidney Leslie Goodwin. He was 19 months old, English boy, coming to the New World to start a new life with his whole family. And the reason no one was coming to claim him, his mom and his dad and his siblings all perished on the Titanic. But now there's a second stone here at the base.